Testing 1, 2, 3. Is my voice audible now? Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to our webinar on smart technologies in education, policies for effective and ethical use. I am Kaiser from University Putra Malaysia, honored to serve as your moderator for this insightful session. Today, we have gathered distinguished panelists who bring a wealth of expertise and experience in the field of education policy, with a special focus on smart technologies. Joining us are representatives from renowned organizations such as UNESCO, APSCE, ISIL, and experts from the OER Center for Research in Pedagogy and Practice. Their presence here highlights the significance of the topic and the collective commitment to enhancing education through the effective and ethical use of technology. In this webinar, we will delve into the opportunities and challenges associated with integrating smart technologies, including artificial intelligence, AI, learning analytics, augmented reality, virtual reality, mobile technology, and 5G, as well as robotics and Internet of Things into education system. We will also explore how education policies can guide and shape the implementation of these technologies to ensure positive and equitable educational outcomes. Our esteemed panelists will share their expertise, insights, and practical examples from diverse education systems around the world. Through their discussions, we aim to shed light on how education policies can promote the effective and ethical use of smart technologies while safeguarding students' data privacy, minimizing biases, and enhancing assessment and evaluation practices. Additionally, we will examine the crucial role of donor funding, including contributions from UNESCO, in supporting the integration of smart technologies into education systems globally. We will uncover how education policies can effectively leverage such funding to achieve the desired goals of effective and ethical use of smart technologies in education. As we progress through this webinar, we encourage active engagement and participation from our audiences. Please take this opportunity to ask questions, share your insights, and contribute to enriching dialogue that will shape the future of education policies. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat room button so that we can synchronously get some feedbacks from you. Now, without further ado, let us begin our journey into the world of smart technologies in education as we explore the policies that can drive their effective and ethical use. So this is the toughest part of this moderating this session, which is on introducing the panelists. I have shortened a bit their biography, so bear with me for a while. The first panelist, we have the Professor Dr. Micah Chum. So Dr. Micah Chum is a full professor in the School of Computing and Information Systems at Athabasca University, Canada. He has recently received a Distinguished Researcher Award from the Pacific Society on Computers in Education, APSCE, last year. Dr. Chang has given more than 135 talks and lectures in different events. He also has authored and co-authored more than 240 book chapters, journal, and international conference papers. He is an IEEE member since 1996. Prof. Chang is currently the chair of IEEE Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers Technical Community of Learning Technology, TCLT, as well as the Editor-in-Chief of Educational Technology and Society, which is indexed by Web of Science Social Science Citation Index, SSCI. In addition, he is also the Editor-in-Chief of the International Journal of Distance Education Technologies and the Bulletin of Technical Committee on Learning Technology. Both are open access publication indexed by WAS ESCI. Prof. Chang is now Vice President of International Association of Smart Learning Environments, ISO, Executive Committee member of APSCE, IEEE Computer Society Technical and Conference Activities Boards, Global Chinese Society for Computing in Education, IEEE Computer Society Special Technical Communities, and Chair of Educational Activities Committee, IEEE for Northern Canada Section. Prof. Chang is also a steering committee member for International Conference on Intelligent Tutoring System, ITS. So Prof. Chang's research directions are data analytics service and game-based learning. All right, so our second panelist will be Dr. Wong Lung Xiang. All right, so we have Dr. Wong Lung Xiang. He is the Senior Education Research Scientist and Co-Director of Learning Sciences and Innovation Research Program under Center for Research in Pedagogy and Practice, National Institute of Education, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. He is also an adjunct professor of State University of Malang, Indonesia. His research interests are mobile and seamless learning, computer-supported collaborative learning, AI in education, and teachers' professional development. He is listed among the top 2% scientists worldwide by a study by Stanford University in 2022. He is the former APSCE president. Wow, right. Last but not least, we have the third panelist. We have Associate Professor Dr. Habibah Abdul Jalil. She is the Deputy Dean, Graduate Studies and International at the Faculty of Educational Studies, University Putra, Malaysia. As an educational technologist, she actively leads various research and consultations related to the field. At the international level, she was an honorary member of governing body for the IIMTS Limited UK. She has been involved in UNESCO projects since 2016 and led the group for a policy brief development on ICT-driven innovation in higher education in Asia Pacific. She is the key person corresponding scholars of UNESCO IT UPM collaboration to initiate a smart classroom project deployment as infrastructural support at UPM for academics teachers training on digital educators for Asia Pacific region, and the establishment of National Center for International Institute of Online Education, IIOE, Malaysia. At the national level, she is the member of the Special Task Force for the National Review Committee, Ministry of Higher Education, Malaysia. Previously, she was a member of MEPTA and was involved in the development of various national policies, including National Policy on E-Learning, Malaysian MOOC Development Guideline, National Open Educational Resources, and National Gamification. At the university level, she was a coordinator and associate fellow of Teaching and Learning, Innovation Division, Research Center for Academic Development, University Putra, Malaysia. At present, she is the coordinator of the Research Center for Excellence Innovative Learning Sciences, Innovate. She's also the director of the International Institute of Online Education and the advisor of the Putra Future Classroom, PFC UPM. All right, allow me to take a breath. Okay, so now we have the panelists ready. So without further ado, I would like to call upon Prof. Dr. Micah Chum to share his presentation based on the given themes. The screen is yours, Prof. Micah?
Yeah, thank you so much. I cannot start my screen sharing yet, so perhaps Longshan can just stop sharing. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. All right. So I believe right now you can see my screen, right? Yeah, that's good. Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for having me today, and I would like to use a limited time to talk about some of the issues and also possibly the solutions to about how to use smart technology in education. And my name is Micah Chum. So basically, I will focus on two things here in this panel. So the first thing is how we can address the concerns regarding data privacy and security implementing smart technology in educational system. The other thing is about how educators and students are equipped with the necessary skills and knowledge to effectively utilize smart technology in the classroom. So I would like to talk about these two things here. The first thing is the concerns. So basically, in 2018, actually, Michael Spector and the Smart Learning Future Group, we have discussed this, and we also published an open access paper about what kind of concerns we may have and how we can address that. But for your information, I will talk about here. So first of all, let's talk about a smart technology in education in the future. Okay, so perhaps we will have the sensors, we may have the Internet of Things to collect the data for two kinds of systems to use. One is effective computing system, the other one is data analytics systems. So these two kinds of systems can help us to assess students' style, their preference, their needs, and what is their emotion states, and so on. So in that case, for example, effective computing system, they can actually determine whether or not a student is paying attention to the learning activities. And also perhaps we can identify and know whether or not a student is nervous. And then we can notify the students or teacher about a student is attracted or engaged or frustrated or bored. So teachers, they can change, or teachers, they can adopt that situation and help their students better. On the other hand, data analytics system can help us to track students' preferred like learning styles and, for example, their cognitive or metacognitive skill level. In that case, we can also identify the misconceptions students may have. And we can even predict the performance or academic achievement of the student. So that is the future smart technologies in education, right? But of course, we do have some obtrusive and or invasive situation may happen because we want to have sensor, we want to have IoT, we want to have emotion detection features. So in that case, for example, the invasive tools or invasive system, actually they may be a vest or a uniform that the students, they can wear. And that kind of uniform has a built-in sensor, which can detect something and send it to effective computing system. Or we can ask students to wear a hand-mounted device, so we can collect their EEG signal, so we can know whether or not they are nervous. Or perhaps we can simply put the sensors attached to the learner's body. So you can see those kind of tools or solutions or scenarios, they are invasive. On the other hand, perhaps we can have another kind of solution or tools which is less invasive And for example, right now, everyone, you have the watch, and perhaps we can have your watch or a wristband to track your heart rate, to track your blood pressure, and maybe sweating. So actually, we can know that you are nervous without invasive sensors. And also, perhaps we can have a touch sensitive surface. So when you try to touch something, we will be able to know how much pressure you put on the screen. And you know, sometimes when we are angry, actually, when you type with your keyboard, you will be faster, or you will hit the keys in a very hard way. So in that case, we will be able to know your emotion states at that moment. Of course, camera is the most easy way to catch. For example, you are frustrated, you are bored, or you are angry, or you are happy and smiling. So that's kind of a solution or a scenario is also not so invasive. So in that case, if we want to provide the teacher some kind of feedback, how can we provide the teacher's feedback? Actually, how about we have a wall mount whiteboard behind this classroom? So basically, all the students, they are taking a look at the teacher, and the teacher can see all the students, while they can also see the whiteboard in the back of the classroom. So basically, he or she can see something immediately without interruption. And for example, let's say you have a camera shooting the class in the front, and then you identify something saying that this student is sleeping. And you can put that information on the wall-mounted whiteboard, and the teacher can see, oh, there is a pointer pointing to this student, he is sleeping. So in that case, you can teachers, they can do something, take some kind of action without interrupt the whole situation. He or she doesn't need to grab up the phone and take a look, or there will be no ring or some kind of sound effect to remind the teachers this kind of thing. So we provide 3 basic guidelines. If you want to use smart technology in education in the future, how can we avoid that kind of situation? First of all, we consider to use closed circuit environment. We are not thinking that you should upload all the data to the cloud and doing analysis there. We think all the data should be collected and analyzed in a closed platform. There is no outsider they can access. So that is the first thing. The second thing is all the generated results and the resource, they should be protected from outside influence and monitored. So no one else, they can check the result. They can check the resource that is generated by such kind of a smart system. And of course, there will be no any inappropriate person. They will be able to see or access the collected data on one student or even the class or a group of students. So that is the first guideline. The second guideline is when we use computer-based solution, we hope that all the data, as I said earlier, we don't want you to send the data to do the analysis in the cloud. So we hope that all the data can be automatically fed into a local computerized resource. And then the results can be generated automatically without human interference. Remember, when you have a human interference, it means there is someone who is monitoring, who is taking a look, who is accessing the data. Otherwise, you cannot do human interference. So that is what we don't want to see. We want everything to be closed and no one else can really access the data. And then the third guideline is we need to ensure the free will of students. So no matter when students, they can say, no, I don't want to be recorded. I don't want to be detected. So when they enter into this classroom at the very first time or very beginning of the class, they can say, okay, today I have a good mood. So yes, I'm okay with you to detect my emotion. But then maybe 10 minutes later or 20 minutes later, they say, no, okay, now I feel bored and I really don't want anything to monitor me. Stop that. So they can do this kind of decision at any time they want. So that is the guideline, the third guideline. The second thing is about educators and students. They should equip what kind of necessary skills they should have in this new century with smart technology in classroom. So basically, in my various talks and keynote speech on the topic of using machine learning, and also what you need to know about the GPT, and also chatbot education, I would like to bring you this into a kind of attention. So first of all, everyone, you should know that in our research area, we have so many different research areas. Some of them you have already known. For example, fuzzy, you know the APSCE system, you heard about machine learning, neural networks, and so on. You do the data mining and so on. So they are research area. But what I would like you to note is actually which AI you are thinking about. So basically, the general public's AI, actually, you are thinking about computational intelligence rather than what we are saying about AI. In our area, we always say AI is about natural language processing, statistical natural language processing, APSCE system. Until several years ago, we have a neural networks-based natural language processing, but remember, that is usually what you think about AI, not what we think about AI. Now, everyone you know ChatGPT. So you need to know the first thing is what the GPT is. GPT is a generative pre-trained transformer. So its goal is trying to produce the text which written like a human being. That is the goal of this kind of research GPT. And then ChatGPT is using GPT-3. So remember, in the goal of GPT, there is nothing about accuracy. This is what you need to know. And then the second thing is we know that ChatGPT is using GPT-3, and then we have a GPT 3.5, and now we have a GPT-4. But no matter how, first of all, you need to know that it is trying to use a certain amount of token. And when we are talking about token, actually that is word. So in that case, this kind of system is trained by some of the training data, which is, for example, GPT-3, they are trained up to October 2019. And what kind of data they are using for training, which is 60%, that is about 280 terabyte data from Common Cloud. So what is Common Cloud? Common Cloud is actually all the things on the internet. Remember that. Remember this. And they also have books, book saved. So the books including something like a Harry Potter. Also remember that. So in that case, they use this kind of training data set to train the neural networks, and then they create a GPT. So you can see that is about 3 billion web pages. And by the way, no one vet that. So basically, you need to remember this 3 billion web page contains all the accurate and inaccurate information. So in that case, we use GPT to ask a question. So is that a real knowledge or a fantasy? you need to understand that the GPT was not trained by your course content. So I ask a question, say, do you believe in magic? Do you know any spell that can be cast for opening a door? And then GPT say, yes, I do know that there are some spells can use to open doors. See? It's believed so. So it tell you that open sesame spell. And I ask, when we cast the open sesame spell, do we need to have a reason or a gesture? Yes, when casting the open sesame spell, you need to speak the word clearly and with a specific reason and a gesture. So see, that is, even it says you need to hold up your right hand and draw a semicircle in the air and so on. See, that is what we know when we talk to GPT. And you also need to see that we have a misleading. So this is a sense that talking about Harry Potter, and you can ask when Harry Potter knows he is a wizard. And actually, after you go through everything, I need to tell you that there is nothing in page 353 or chapter 7 say that the boy from cardboard under the stair, I'm a wizard. No, there is no this sentence. I checked the book. So, but I say no, sorting hat doesn't say that. And the GPT say, yes, you are right, you are right. And then I say, oh, I'm wrong. Actually, sorting that hat did say that. So who is misleading? So this is what I really want you to know, that the factual knowledge may be not true. See, the average depth of a Pacific Ocean is this, but if you ask GPT, actually it's wrong, 42. Now, again, that is what we need, a necessary skill which students and teachers need to have, verifying the accuracy of the information from no matter where they are, they got an AI program or anything. So I have some to do and a student to do, sorry, not to do, but I think my time is up. So I probably stop here. And if you wanted to know more, later we can discuss. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Micah. What an impressive presentation. I've learned a lot from your slides. Especially, we can use AI to identify students' nervousness. Well, without further ado, I would like to call upon Dr. Wong Lung Xiang to share perhaps the smart classroom initiative in Singapore context. The screen is yours, Dr. Wong.
Hello, thank you. Can you hear me?
Crystal clear. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So, first of all, thanks, Micah, for presenting. I mean, being the first person who talk about this issue. But then, in fact, from the way I see him, because you already have talking about the 3 guidelines, I would see the 3 guidelines. These are very good starting point for us to convert it to policies. Yeah, either microscopic, means that in classroom policies of using smart technology, or even higher level to the school policy, to even national policies. Yeah, so I think these are things that we can generalize. And also because the second part is more about talking about more AI literacy. Yeah, so this is another part we should take note. So we don't just push technology, but then we don't care about how people using it, or the awareness of using it responsibly and also using it effectively. And then, so when it comes to my part, I'm more talking about sharing about the Singapore's context, Singapore's case studies. Want to see that, because I think there are more and more countries, more and more, or even more and more regions within countries, or even more and more universities, they are running their own smart education initiative. But then I think they are all going, not all of them going through the same path. Singapore's path or strategies are slightly different from the rest of the world. That's the way I see it. I want to share that part. I want to see what the nuances we can get from there. So let's see. Yeah. Well, we see that 2023 is only 3 months ago. We see this Singapore. This piece of news. Singapore is a top Asian city in Smart City Index and ranked 7th worldwide. And these are the 2 notable milestones. In 2014, that's a big Smart Nation initiative launched by our Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. And then in 2017, there was a government office being set up for this purpose and really accelerated all these. If you want to call it, I invented the term smartifies our country and smartifies our this city. Yeah, Singapore is a city state anyway. The entire city itself is a country. Yeah, so you can see what the Smart Nation initiative covers so far. We start with smart infrastructure. This one we can tell. I mean, these are the things that you can look at this diagram. You can see it roughly what we're talking about. Smart government, smart citizens, and smart lifestyles, smart business, smart transportation, healthcare, security, and so on and so forth. Yeah, but interesting part, that's one interesting part. It doesn't cover education in its first blueprint. Yeah, until now, it still doesn't cover education. The smart government office, they don't do that. They don't cover education. Yeah. So the education sector's own business in a sense, but with strong government support. Just from our government's point of view, we're more our Smart Nation initiative as a whole, we're looking at transforming our government, maybe our lifestyle, our economics. Yeah, but education is something that something is more is nature from that point of view, and then actually it's more on Ministry of Education. They're pushing for that. Yeah, but it's not part of our Smart Nation initiative. Yeah, okay. So I mean, not officially part of it, but of course, still we get all the support, gain all the support from the Smart Nations office to run our education smartification, we want to call it that way. So in MOE's point of view, they are promoting technology enhanced learning and AI R&D, aiming for adoptions of individual products, but so far no holistic framework. Yeah, unlike I see other countries, they do have holistic framework of turning the entire education sector becomes more smarter. Yeah. The interesting part is that we built a foundation with student learning space. This SLS itself is something like a learning portal or something like a learning management system, which MOE built it and launched it in 2018. And all the Ministry of Education schools, public schools, K-12 public schools, they have to adopt it. It's compulsory for them to adopt it. And for every single subject, they need to teachers need to use it at least 3 times a week, at least 3 times a week. Yeah, there are a set of tools for the teachers to scaffold students, to get students to let's say to get students to submit their homework, and also there are a lot of resources for both teachers and students, and even learning lesson plans, sample lesson plans for teachers to download, and then they adapt it for their own purpose, and all our learning resources. Yeah, all this. So until at least 2 to 3 years ago, there wasn't much about the smart technology being integrated into SLS. But the interesting part about this SLS is that because in the future, when they encourage us, university or even let's say the commercial, the industry, to develop new tools, new technologies for education, and then if it prove the concept, you prove that it works well. Yeah, and then they can just plug into SLS, and then it instant scaling up to all schools to use it. You don't need to actually get all the schools to download a new software or to create a new account for that purpose. Just one single account, you can do everything you need. Yeah, so that's the idea. So it's more adaptable to changes. And every time there's a new technology coming, we don't need to develop a new platform. We just may use the same platform, but we just plug in. Yeah, so we use API for that purpose. So that's the idea. Right? So which means that, let's say, for other countries, maybe what they do is that they have a very holistic framework for developing the entire. And actually that framework is very much based on the current state of the arts of smart technology. So these are at current point of time, this smart technology are all these most foolhardy, biggest things in the world. Yeah. Like now it's more about generative AI, but 3 years ago, nobody think about generative AI can be part of education. Yeah, so back then they developed a framework, and now they develop frameworks based on the current technology available. And the vision of what in the next 2 to 3 years, what the technology can be adopted. But then in 3 years' time, down the road, before the frameworks really put into the full this implementation, new technology come up even better than, and then they want to review the framework. So now it's more on a little bit more on bottom up for Singapore's case. Yeah, so that's a strategy different from the rest of the world. So, and now because of the COVID-19, and then we start off as making our home-based learning as a quick fix. We hope that we can go back to the old normal. But instead, our Ministry of Education, they decided that they want to make personalized digital learning program, which is one-to-one. and blended learning as the permanent strategy were being put into all secondary school, and for primary school, we're doing a pilot study for the time being. So in fact, in 2021, by the end of 2021, all the secondary school students already have their own tablet or Chromebook. Yeah, and then all the subjects are supposed to do blended learning. Yeah, it's not just a classroom-based learning, but blended learning. So, and we can see this as ubiquitous learning, and it's part of smart learning. So with that, then SLS even being used even more frequently. Yeah, and then if in the future there are any smart technology being plugged into SLS, then we can instantly being used by all the secondary school students. Okay, so this is the main development. So technology evolved rapidly. That's the point I made just now. Better be goal-driven rather than framework-driven, or we at least want to strike a balance. So the backbone technology of technical framework for smart education might be obsolete or transformed in 2 to 4 years. Yeah, so being too framework driven for your smart education, so it could be an issue. Okay, so smart classroom tends to be costly. That's another point. Either couldn't go beyond the clinical stage. You just finish your research and then you do very well. You will publish papers and then you move on to the next thing. But if you want to use it in actual university, maybe one university they use it. Yeah, but maybe it's not sustainable because it's too costly. Or maybe there are new technology coming and then you could replace it. Or it actually widen digital divides because for other university or other nations, they cannot afford this technology. Yeah, then the digital divides will be widened. So it's good to push the boundary of technology in your research, but also bear in mind the need to diffuse to scale up. So this again, we need to strike a balance between these two. Yeah. So in fact, from Singapore's MOE's point of view, we place a strong emphasis on the scalability. So it's not just that those are all the elite schools that are using this best technology, and then the rest of the school they cannot afford it or whatever. Yeah, or it's not just a money issue; it's also about readiness issue. So these are things we need to consider. So we start one step at a time rather than we rush for the most advanced thing, and then some of them do it well and some of them didn't do it well, even if the money to let everybody have the technology itself. Yeah. So if you come to the university part, because just now I talked about K-12, university part there's no orchestrated effort across the entire Singapore. Our MOE actually places more emphasis on running K-12, and then for university, our MOE is mainly providing a more guidance role and provide supporting. But then let our 6 university were all AU refers to autonomous university, so they are more autonomous. So our government doesn't actually govern them too much. So you can see individual university, they actually run their own initiative, smart education initiative. Yeah, some of the university actually they are collaborating, but most of them running on their own. Yeah, so I just take 2 examples because I'm from NTU. Yeah, NTU is actually the westmost university in Singapore. Another example is SUTD. This is the eastmost university in Singapore. NTU is in terms of our land mass, is the biggest university in Singapore. Yeah, we have the biggest campus size in Singapore. SUTD is one of the smallest, and they're the youngest, one of the youngest, not the youngest, but one of the youngest. Yeah, so as you can see, although we call technology university, but now we are more holistic university. We have also arts and social science, we have humanities, we have medicine, all this. Yeah, but SUTD, they continue to focus on technology and design. Yeah, so these are 2 contrasts. We can see the case studies of this from NTU's case study. Yeah, okay, so I can quickly show you this, but not in details. We look at this NTU Smart Campus. Let me see if we can hear the sound. I hope it's running. Can you hear the sound? Not, then I need to do this. I need to share. Okay.
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah. Speak maker, same as system. I need to share. Test speaker in my no, not here. I think there's something for you to open up. Okay, I just now forgot to test this part. Let's see. Advanced computer audio sharing. Okay, let's see if it works now. I'm sharing computer audio, but now I cannot share screen. Okay, share sound. Okay, there's another. Okay, basic. Okay, share sound. No, it doesn't allow me to share sound. Okay, try again.
Maybe if you could share with us later on the link to the YouTube videos later on, maybe Dr. Wong. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe there's also time constraint, but I just quickly click a few points that while we have other smart technology being used in campus, it's not directly on the teaching and learning. Yeah, we have plenty of them. Yeah, we also have all the research, and then we use one of the test beds of Singapore Smart Nation Initiative. We have our own these are driverless cars and driverless buses in our campus. Yeah, this is a driverless bus. Yeah, and then in our, of course, over here we also have our own school. These are smart classrooms being used. Yeah, so okay, let's go down. Yeah, this is a model they came up with, a virtual, adaptive, and distributed learning model. We see this adaptive part. We see all these HBL stand for home-based learning. Yeah, so we are addressing the issues always implicitly or actually explicitly addressing the issue of ethical use and responsible use, and also online safety. All these are being covered in our framework. Yeah, competencies for adaptiveness, time deliverables. We have multimodal instructions using IoT, using our AR, VR, 3D printing. All this in our own teaching and learning. And smart classroom with all this kind of communication online, some of the examples here. And then distributed learning, at the point about we're talking about within a classroom, we can have students who are actually physically present and also at the same time, students study at home, or even when they're overseas, they can still join our classes. Yeah, so this kind of a mixture, which one of our colleagues called it as a blended participation, synchronous blended participation of the classroom learning. So this is something that we have put out the technology for this purpose. And these are the smart classrooms we have here. And then the Hive and the Arc, these are the two buildings. Actually, they're just next to each other with the most advanced technology available, smart technology available for every single classroom that we have it. So you see, when do it for student-centered learning, located campus-wide with two specialized smart learning hubs. There are two. And all these are IoT supported projection systems, smart whiteboards for this purpose, and so this projection. And then the next case study will come to SUTD. Yeah, although they're running their own initiative, but they are doing things very similar to NTU and maybe the rest of the universities in Singapore. Yeah, well, it seems that we're all running our own initiative, which are overlapping with each other in terms of what we are doing. But then either we are adopting technologies on our own choice, or we are developing our own technology. Yeah, so SUTD have recently talking to them, they're interested to collaborate, and we might be able to kind of adopt their technology and adapt for our purpose. But otherwise, we have our own. So like their Campus X initiative, this is they talk about human-centric cyber-physical learning environment. Just now I talk about the synchronous blended participation, classroom participation, and they are doing this, and even one step further, they have robots to represent those students logging on from home or elsewhere. Yeah, so the robot, when you're turning, let's say they're turning their head or whatever, the student turn their head, and then the robot will turn their head and will see whatever in the classroom. Yeah, so even more advanced. And also they have learning analytics. Yeah, to run this and then to collect all these classroom data and also the home learning data. Yeah, to support the teacher's decision or the instructor's decision. Okay. So again, this is a video, but if there's an issue of showing, so that's called it. I can test later and see if we have time to show it. But this is a telepresence robot. This is what I mentioned. They use AR as well, and they also have something they call skills tree. Skills tree is something like we have mentioned. I mean, every students in by now their undergraduate study, what they're receiving, the degree that they receive, they actually have a segment is on their skills being learned. Yeah, so it's not necessarily the courses, the modules that they have taken, and then the transcript is the traditional transcript is more on the modules or courses they've learned. But for their skills tree, is more on the skills they've learned. So even one module they can cover several skills, and even one skill can be covered by several modules. So they are more actually certified students in terms of skills they've learned. And also in their skills tree, every student maintain their own skills tree, which can be I think kind of accessible from an app. The skills tree is organized in a way similar to a semantic network or a concept Chum map, which shows that the progressive relationship. So that's what they currently have, and then they say, okay, these are the skills they have learned. You just highlight it for what they have learned. And different students may have different skill sets being learned, even they are going to graduate from the same department. Yeah, and then ultimately, so now our discussion with them is a collaboration of our want to upgrade the skill tree to actually become to put in an AI element, so that they can actually recommend students, this is your learning goal, final learning goal. You want to pick up this set of competencies, and then what are the skills you need to learn. We backtrack, yeah, and learn. Okay, we follow this path. You don't need to learn everything, but you follow this path, you can reach your eventual learning goal of competencies. So this is something that we're working towards, and then I might actually transfer this over to National Institute of Education, which is what I'm currently working on for our pre-service teachers, yeah, to access to the same type of skill tree, AI empowered skill tree. So this is something that we're working towards. Okay, yeah. So you can see that trust and projects, we have these 6 trusts. You can see, although all these are actually referring to one technology, yeah, but you can see if you see the matrix here, you have G1. I think that the one on the left hand side, you can see learning intimacy and learning socialization. They want to look at connectedness, social personalization, adaptability, and anywhere, anytime, anyone learning, flexibility, collaboration, and scalability, and also safeguarding governance, privacy, and ethics. So when I look at these 6 trusts, which are technology oriented, they always try to map it into these more human oriented dimensions. So they address this when they are developing all this, when they are developing this technology, and then they also want to see how these 6 technology can come together, yeah, to operate together. So these are the 3 trusts they're looking at. Okay, so thank you.
All right. Excellent presentation. Thank you for sharing, Dr. Wong, on the Singaporean perspectives on embedding smart technologies in education. Well, I reserve a question for you maybe later on. I would like to again remind all of you, if you have a question, feel free to use this Q&A button over there on the bottom of the options from the Zoom to share your questions over there. All right, so I am now passing this session to Associate Professor Dr. Habibah Abdul to share on the smart technology in education perhaps on Malaysian perspective. The screen is yours, Dr. Bib.
Thank you, Dr. Haizer, Perspective panelists, Prof. Maya, and also Prof. Lun Xiang. Thank you, everyone, for inviting me to this forum. I'm humbled. I'm not that the expert of all this new smart technology, but what I'm going to do today is to share with you, based on my experience working with the UNESCO, and at the same time contributing to the Ministry of Higher Education in terms of developing the policy. So I'm going to have two different slides. The first one is to look into how the policy usually develop, and bear in mind that in Malaysia, the government, the ministry have provided us with a lot of top-down policy to guide the implementer, especially the higher educations, the academics and the students, to use technology wisely. But at the same time, the bottom up, we allow the innovation that comes from the academics and the students. So there's two ways of how the technology is integrated in the ecosystem. Let me share with you the first my slide here. We are aware of that these jarring and thrilling and terrifying condition now, when we realize the coming of AI, for example, ChatGPT, that helps the academics to generate ideas, but at the same time, we are thinking about how then we need to be careful in choosing the right assessment to the students to really look into how they actually learn and what we have provided them in in their learning. So we need to have a guide in the form of policy. So having to say this, through my experience, usually at the national level or the ministerial level, how usually the institutions develop the policy is by looking at the top level direction, the true north. What will be the directions of the international or the national view of how we should integrate the technology in education. So for example, that if we can see the UNESCO in their website, they have this policy master plan development roadmap, which the guideline advise any higher education with their community plan, how they should come up with its policy that related to technology by considering duration of the policy. And when we talk about technology, it grows so fast, so we need to be caution about how long that the policy will be valid to be used, and also the scope, and also the committee who have the duty to look into the policy, to endorse the policy. For example, if we need to have endorsement from the ministry, the cabinet, and so on, so on. So here is the example that I have taken from the UNESCO website, and to some point I have involved with, like the one that we have for blended learning. It is good that the higher the level where the policy is taken place, it is more general policy. So for blended learning, for example, here UNESCO even provide the self-assessment tools. So then any country with different background, we can see that Singapore are very advanced, Prof. Leung Chiang, but we also need to think about in Asia Pacific, we have third world country with less fortunate, with less technology. So with this tool, we can assess ourselves how ready will be the university to implement blended learning, for example. So this is an example of a good tool how we can use to self-assess the institution, and towards the end of these tools, there's a recommendation of how the institution can improve in terms of the practices by having, for example, the right policy, the guide of how to implement the blended learning in the campuses. And recently, we have also, particularly in AI, everybody are concerned about AI. So there's a guide provided by UNESCO, and how I evaluate this document is that they are very positive in encouraging the Asia Pacific higher education to use the AI in the education ecosystem. So in Malaysia, the direction is that we have Mampu, which is the government entity to look into all the sectors, private sectors, when we talk about the integration of technology. And the recent one is looking into the cloud sector, the cloud providers, and to manage or coordinate throughout the ministries. In higher education, we still have the true north of using our blueprint 2015 and 25, which highlighted the adoptions of digital technology, which meaning that yes, we encouraging all this coming technology to be integrated in the system. And these also have created, have pushed the minister to come up with the sub-policies that cater specific particular focus. For example, we have national policy on e-learning, the second version, that need to update it to a third version. For example, we have also looking on number 3, for example, the skills for future-proof talent. We also have a more direct playbook, for example, how to implement online learning and teaching. And coming, we're still waiting, okay, coming very, very closely that we're going to have a higher education utilizations and 4IR plan, which in this new policy, the minister will give a clear guideline and direction for all the new technology integrated in the ecosystem. And the minister himself have announced that very soon that we're going to launch a new white paper titled A New Horizon, Science, Technology and Innovation, the strategy for Malaysia, which something that we are looking forward. And in UPM, we have several documents and guidelines provided by the KIT, and also the output of several research related to emerging technology, which is we are very positive in promoting all this technology and how the academic can integrate such technology, wearable monitoring, immersive. But personally, I think we are lacking in terms of covering on the safety and also privacy. Looking back at this flow, as you can see here, when we want to come up with the policy, which technology that we are talking about, and how much the technology will actually involve any particular risk. So we need to have this risk assessment for different technology that we are offering or we plan to have in the institutions, that only then we can provide the good measure or policy to support the activity. So here in this forum, I've been given the list of technology, but what I'm going to focus on is on the AI rather than the others, because they are related somehow. And the risk in education, it can come to affect either on the organization, the student and the teacher, but I'm not really worried about students and teachers because we are the users. So the responsibility are very much on the high level, the organization, the ministries, and so on. So it is interesting that I have come forward to this paper, this article very recently, even it is published on 11th July this year. They combine together, working together with a very prominent institutions to look into the managing the risks for public safety. So only when we understand, we have a clear understanding of the risk to the people, to the user, only then we have a proper good guideline to be ready to be used by the user. So in this paper, it promote or suggests in terms of the implementation what need to be done when we are using any particular system that integrate the AI. And this is a very straightforward example of the level of risk. For example, the first one, which the first and the second one, which very much that we are now facing or using, isn't it? For example, using the chatbot, it is the less risk system AI that we shouldn't be worried about, because what happening in there is that it's more of we design the system in a way that it can give answer to a quite straightforward topic to the lesson. And the second one is more of they pull together all the data or information worldwide and then give some sort of suggestions. So that there's no discovered severe risk to the public safety. but maybe a significant uncertainty there when the suggestion or recommendation could suggest something that, but not that very serious to the public safety. For example, the biological science, but not generate novel insight. Usually they just, use the same data and information available worldwide, and then give a new insight, which we fully understand that it can be accepted or it can be reconsidered. Okay, and the third one is there's some severe risk to public safety discovered, but some safe use cases. So here, for example, when the system are getting more intelligent and more, clever, they might want to have a suggestion that related to, for example, more serious thing here with the same cases, genotype for pathogen, which maybe could suggest a certain vaccine that lead to people to find themselves the resources that they shouldn't, for example, should be controlled by any particular bodies, for example. So this could have lead to some severe risk that then from here we could plan what sort of guideline or precautions that we need to highlight in our document. And the worst one is the severe risk to public safety. This is an example that this paper have given. General purpose personal assistant, for example, we're using Alexa, we're using Siri, for example. Those are assistants that can assist us in terms of what we could do. But always that if we realize the apps that related to health, for example, there's a precautions that the statement saying that you still need to refer to the doctor and so on and so on. The other example that for this level is, for example, self-driving car, which involve other people, other human life on the street. So this is the risk that will need a different policy or guideline to be followed through. So the practical implement strategy overall for education contact, as I think that it is important for us to look into is at this level, we need to make sure that all our teachers in the university need to have a certain knowledge and skills about the technology themselves. Only if they know not just how to use it in the classroom, but also how to teach the students to what extent this technology can give the certain risks that I've just mentioned just now. And it also will be wise to have to establish a partnership between educators and technologies. So to have this forum, for example, we talk, we share, we collaborate, we discuss, we have this open dialogue with the technologies, for example, we'll open up our understanding of the technology and how much it can give benefit and both also the risk to the university. And we need to also have a flexible policy, because we don't want that because of the policy we slow down the innovation. As I said just now, that university is we have this bottom-up in Malaysia, which a lot of universities are very enthusiastic in exploring the possibility of using technologies. We have Dr. Haize, for example, innovation showcase. We have a lot of activities together with MEPTA to promote innovation in teaching and learning. So we need a flexible policy in these matters, because we don't want to slow down those innovation by having because we are too, for example, afraid of the effect of AI, for example. So and by doing that, we need to pilot actually any program by having research, we could also have these real case studies to guide us into plan for the future. So this is what UPM is doing now, working with IOE, UNESCO APSCE, with the pilot program that related to the disruptive technology and smart technology, which I will show you later on. And of course, the last one, continuous monitoring and evaluations are the key in terms of how rapid that we need to monitor. I have read that every 3 months will be the good time that the university should look into the practices. That's why in university we need to have a devoted personnel that look into the initiative of, for example, digitalization and so on, who have the right knowledge to look into this matter. So I'm going to stop this and to show the example of what we're doing with for the UNESCO project. At the moment, we have this pilot project. We piloting a small project funded by UNESCO with a good amount, and they are very generous also to sponsor one physical classroom in UPM. The purpose of this project is actually to look into how what would be the best way to give training for the academics to integrate the technology. So we have both physicals and micro-credential mode of training, and we try it out to with a small group of academics. So that's why we need both a physical classroom or training room, and also we develop the micro-credential with the content is on the using technology for the class. Of course, the direction we still hold on to the national policy on this, whatever that university initiative that related to technology. So these are our guidelines, and even it is very clear here that as a support or fundamental, the basis of the project, the pilot project, that the ministry already laid out a good fundamental guide of how we should have the CPDs at the university level. Okay, what's to focus on and so on and so on. So the direction is to have the Educators 4.0, and we are expecting the academics to engage with the technology, and therefore the CPD provided by the university should align with this policy. And here in UPM, we have this some initiative, including the micro-credential and also ODL. So this initiative by IOE and UNESCO really align with what we want to have in UPM. So these are the overall objective of the pilots project, and these are the expected tasks by UPM, and the role and duties. We are very clear of the role of everyone in the project, and we also have expert team to advise, and also we have a group of TOT to train the teachers or the educators. And as a start, we have this micro-credential focusing on this key competency. For this micro-credential, the first one is on the chatbot, and also we are looking into learning analytic and high flex learning. which Dr. Isaac involved in this project as well on high flex learning. So the monitoring and evaluation indicators have been set up, and then we are in the process of finishing the project. And these are the captions or the actual training that we are having. We have this bootcamp and also the micro-credential webinar and so on and so on. And towards the end, we're going to come up with the case studies, how UPM are doing with the project and something that can be learned by other universities in particular. I think that's it from me, Dr. Haizer and audience.
Awesome, Dr. Habibah. Thank you very much for your insightful presentation. I've seen that we in Malaysia, we have actively and progressively doing this kind of initiative on the smart classroom. All right, so we have more or less 15 minutes for Q&A session. Again, I would like to open up this session to the members of the screen to share any opinions, thoughts, or question perhaps to any of the panelists. Okay, there is one question from Alex Tay from University Putra Malaysia. Thank you very much, Prof. Micah, Dr. Wong, and Dr. Bib for the sharing. I would like to ask Dr. Wong, what is the nuances between framework-driven and goal-driven? How does it expedite the EdTech actualization process? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, I would like to say probably it's not the two distinctive kind of characteristics of this kind of implementation. I'm also seeing this as let's say goal and framework actually two levels. Yeah. So framework ultimately still have to be driven by the goals, but sometimes we just lost sight of what the highest level goal is. We say, okay, we want the technology to being plugged into your education and help to do the transformation of the education. So sometimes the framework itself could be too technology oriented. Yeah, what is lost sight is actually a higher level education goal. I think after all, what we hope that is the technology to augment learners' knowledge, not to replace learners' knowledge. Yeah, sometimes you just make the technology to make all the decisions for learners. Yeah, and then the learners never learn how to learn. Yeah, so that's also an issue. You want to go to the extreme or not? Yeah, and also it's more. We're not talking about whether you expedite, which way you expedite. It's more on talking about whether this framework will be sustainable. If it's too technology driven, 2-3 years down the road, if the technology becomes obsolete or being transformed, and then you need to revise your framework. Yeah, so sometimes it's the framework is 5 years around, maybe 2 to 3 years turn around, maybe it's still okay. You just focus on the current technology. But if a longer term thing is better to be goal driven. Yeah, and then the framework, the technology framework itself should be more adaptable. Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wong. Interesting feedbacks from Dr. Wong. So perhaps I would like to move to a prepared question to actually to get some insightful feedback from Prof. Micah, especially when we talk about assessment and evaluation purposes. What would be the strategy or step that we can take? Because previously, based on your presentation, you mentioned on the getting some consent from the students to sort of put them in a process of evaluate their performance, their interactivity in the class. So in terms of assessment evaluation, how do you foresee the biases and ensure the fairness as well as equity for the assessment evaluation processes? Prof. Micah?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Actually, I think there are a little bit different between what we say smart tech and knowledge in education and assessment. So So of course, the assessment could be done with some kind of smart technologies. But when we are talking about smart technology in classroom, usually we are not considering assessment. So, okay, so let's say assessment. What kind of assessments we are talking? Are we talking about formal assessment or something like exercise or quiz or classroom activities? So basically, if we consider formal assessment like a final exam, like a written exam, and so on, then I don't really think it's necessary to consider the use of smart technology, because usually you will still want to have like a written exam, right? So so on the other hand, if we are talking about like the assignments and other things, then that's coming to another thing about whether or not you believe the assignment is written by the student. So it sounds like what right now we are thinking when we have a ChatGPT, right? But actually not. Before that, when we have assignments, usually you will consider whether or not this assignment is done by the student, or the student actually hires someone to do the assignment, or the student has his or her friend to help him or her to do the assignment. So in that case, you are not just giving marks about the assignment, but sometimes you will try to use other approach to prove that the students, they are really writing that assignment or complete the assignment by themselves. So for example, we may put the assignment question into our exam. So if you really write your assignment by yourself, then during the exam, you definitely can answer that, right? Or we have some kind of lab test. So we will ask people to do some small change. If everything is done by you, then those small change you definitely can do. So see, this is not just about smart technology. It's about the nature, because when they are doing some assignments or exercise behind the scene, I mean, out of school or out of classroom, you don't know. So that is not just about smart technology, that is the ordinary thing. So when we say that people, they can withdraw or they can say, no, please don't detect my emotion or analyze my data. Actually, we are talking about the general process during the class, not about assignment or doing final exam. But of course, one more thing I would like to add that. So basically, I don't like a writing exam. I'm not a good student. I really hate to write any exam. So that is what we can use with smart technology. Can we try to assess students for what they have learned implicitly, seriously? If so, then we can analyze students' performance or knowing whether they really know or not know, while they don't know. So they are not aware of that. Then there is no pressure. See, when you write an exam, there is a pressure, and some people like me, I will not perform well when I writing some that. But if you talk like this way with me, then I can answer everything correctly. So how about we have smart technology to do that rather than doing a formal assessment? I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prof. Micah. So I think you make a valid comments on having a different approach or perhaps alternative assessments to support the, to measure the students' academic performance. We have just completed the final, marking exam modes. So you can, you can imagine how exhaustive we are as a lecturer to read line by lines of the students, written feedbacks from the online screen. So, all right. So thank you very much for that. Well, last but not least, perhaps a final question for today's, I would like to give to Associate Professor Dr. Habibah on the meaningful learning environments while we are using smart technologies in education. How do you sort of, as a lecturer, how do you predict or looking at the impacts of the students' learning in the context of educational technology?
Thank you. That is an interesting question. For me, and I hope to see this in the future, is that the university should give the best setting for the students to face the real world when they finish study. So the university should reflect the right environment that reflect the real world that they're going to facing, even the assessment. Okay, let's say that if doing assessment, written assessment, examination, I don't like it too, Prof. Micah. I don't like it. I really don't like it. But towards the end, if we think about what they have gained in the university, should give them the right knowledge and skill to solve problem when they finish, when they are in the society, when they work, when they are in the real world. Why can't we have those environment in the university? So why can't we have assessment more of a project base, when the problem came from the real world problem and they come together working with other students in other domain, in other field together to solve the problem? That is the actual assessment we're talking about. How they implement or how they use their knowledge from the lecturers, and then to solve those problems. The more that they can solve the problem, the more that they are expert in their field. Like the we can see that, for example, the experts, martial art or whatever, the more that the case that they are facing, they solve, or they're having, the more knowledgeable they are, the more skillful they are. So why can't we have this technology to create different source or nature of problem as a project for the students to solve? And there's no this silo, you're in your world working with the project, because at the end, when you become somebody outside the university, you're working with others. There's no way that you're working on your own. So those are the skills that we need to provide in the university with the help of technology. For example, if we have the problem that is so difficult to be created in the university, we can have this simulation, for example, VR. We can have also, you know, other technology that that will allow us to bring the world into the classroom, the world that they're going to face, but in the classroom. And this is something, the model that I wish what we could have in the future, and forget about this, all this writing, examination, and so on. I couldn't see the benefit of it very near future. That's it, Dr. Isaac.
Excellent thoughts, Dr. Habibah. So we have maybe 2 more minutes. I would like, I couldn't sleep if I don't give this question to Dr. Wong. Perhaps, how do you, perhaps we have the technologies out there, the smart things out there. How can we get the buy-in from the lecturers to use it? What do you say about that?
Try to make it simple, which is that you should, okay, so when we're talking about this, ultimately, we started off, if I try to take Singapore's experience, from many of the teachers actually started off from the MOE came up with at least 2 frameworks, which are more for teachers, in-service teachers practice. So the first one is called STP, Singapore Teachers Practice, which is see the pedagogical framework design and see the framework of how you design lesson plans. And then the second one is e-pedagogy. It's even more detailed. Yeah, with some of the framings that come from actually our educational technology framework. So these two are actually kind of more evergreen. Yeah, then a smart, let's say a smart technology framework or whatever. So the teachers, we went through this, I think since 2015, 2017, we have these two frameworks being launched respectively. And all the teachers actually went through the PD, professional development, for this purpose. I think, but the adoption rate or the practice rate is actually uneven across teachers. But at least they have all this in mind, even they don't practice in full-fledged, but at least they know these are things, these are the way to go. And then when it comes to COVID-19, with all this home-based learning and all these things coming in, and also later we have PDLP, that blended learning thing came in for secondary schools. They realized that all these pedagogy and also these two pedagogical frameworks actually guide them very well in implementing all this. Yeah, so with all this kind of readiness prepared for them, then in the future, when there's new technology being introduced, you try to make the connection. And you show the good examples, you get some of the gung-ho teachers to try out first. They are strong in technology and also good in pedagogy. We call it TPEC knowledge. They're good enough. They practice first and then and show the kind of effectiveness, show to the rest of their colleagues. And when the colleagues will learn from them, I think these are the ways that you can try.
All right, great. Dr. Wong Lung Siang for the wonderful feedback. So I think we have passed over 11:30. So we have come to the end of this webinar session. Again, on behalf of the organizer, I would like to thank everyone for your active listening and a great question from Alex just now. So before we end this webinar session, I would like to give some preamble on the next exciting event organized by APSCE. It's going to be the next APSCE webinar entitled Unlocking Potential, Leveraging Multimodal Learning Analytics for Collaborative Learning. This webinar session will take place in August 11 at 16 to 17 UTC times. So the speaker will be Prof. Dragan Gazovic from Monash University, Australia. And I hope all of you will spare some time joining this exciting event. And last but not least, I would like to invite all of you to give some feedbacks. Please submit your feedback by scanning the QR code as stated on the screen. Again, I would like to thank the panelists for spending some time with us, Prof. Micah, Associate Professor Dr. Habibah, as well as Dr. Wong Su Liang for your wonderful insights and opinions in relation to the topics that we discussed today. Again, please take care, everyone, and see you in the next APSCE webinar. Well done, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.